Yes, people, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. As always, make sure that you lot are smashing up the lights. Make sure that you are subscribing to the channel, people. We've got man like Ryan back on the channel. You know what I'm saying? We just keep doing business. We can't avoid each other. Every summer we have to do something. You know what I mean? And I saw your tweet as well, Ryan. I saw you getting a lot of heat for your tweet. Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen for people to see if they haven't seen it. Yeah, because you were spitting facts. I can't lie. When it comes to the money that you lot have made and Tony Bloom has made from Chelsea, it's mad, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's actually mad.
Do you know what? Do you know what's crazy, right? That tweet is so out of context. It's insane because I think I remember literally about a month ago, 2 months ago, I wrote a 1,000-word article about why, like how painful it is watching Palace win the FA Cup, how we can't keep losing our best players. That tweet was exclusively just about the fact we had made quite a lot of money off Chelsea, not about celebrating the fact that we were losing our best players. It got taken so far out of... Oh, mate, I've been on that guy's jokes today. I DM'd the guy. I was like, mate, this is so out of context. But everyone's having a go at me.
Now, do you know what it is? Yes, because we've had the little rivalry between us. Like when we finished 12th, you guys, I think you beat us twice that season, in fact, when we finished 12th. And, you know, like we took Cucurella, you guys boo him, and we took Caicedo, and, you know, you guys weren't trying to budge. And we've just got a little bit of tension between us. I think that's where it comes from. Honestly, I think that's where it comes from. Because before I even knew you, I was seeing you rattling a lot of Chelsea fans on the timeline.
Oh, good times, good times. I mean, to be honest, now it's like, I've got to a point where I just kind of accept it because I think I look at both clubs and on the internal perspective, they probably love each other because you've given us so much money, we can reinvest it. And there's probably a business relationship there. Whereas as fans, I think we're just sick to the side of it. You know, I don't want to see any more players go to Chelsea. I hate seeing João Pedro go to Chelsea, but I guess we're just going to have to get used to it because it's what it is now.
Yeah, 100%.
I hate it.
Yeah, 100%. And big up Tobes for this as well. I'm not going to take credit for this, but he basically said it feels like, you know, the relationship that Liverpool had with Southampton back in the day when they had Lallana's and they had the Kleins, you had the Luke Shaws. Actually, Luke Shaw didn't go to Liverpool, but who else did they have that with Liverpool? They had
tons. I remember the memes at the time because I feel like I remember like everyone was taking a mick out of it sort of thing. And then the amount of times I think I don't know if Southampton fans hate Liverpool fans. That would be interesting. Like, did they boo Liverpool then? I don't know.
I don't think they do because they gave them a lot of money. They took Lambert as well. Lambert was from there. They took quite. Yeah, Ricky Mane. Lambert was from there as well. Mane, yep. So they've got a good relationship there. And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, like I don't mind doing business with Brighton as long as the player is the right player. Because the way that you guys play football, right, and the sort of profile of players that you bring in a lot of technical players that Chelsea want to be building with. And if you go look at the offensive players that we've brought in, Cucurella and Caicedo, they've been amazing for us, right? Sanchez, you know, he's been good. I would probably say in 2025, he's been very good recently, but we still need an upgrade on that guy. But when you actually break down the players that we've brought in from Brighton, obviously Cole was a Chelsea player, but he gained his Premier League experience at Brighton as well. It's actually been a success. You know what I mean? It's actually been a success, bro. So I don't mind the relationship. I don't mind it. You got to earn your bag, man. Bloom's a businessman. He's got to do what he's got to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, that's unfortunately where I've got to sit with it because, I mean, let's say I don't like it. I would rather us, and I think I'll shout out the Dogma boys on our end because they wrote a fantastic article recently about, I think they called it "Not 10th Forever," and you know, we you know, they said if you want to go and see the club making profits, follow them on Company's House, but don't follow them at Falmer. Because we're not going to games. I didn't fall in love with football. I didn't watch Brighton because you've got an unbelievable owner who makes loads of money. I don't watch football because of Tony Bloom. I love football because of Tony Bloom. It helps. But if Tony Bloom left tomorrow and we get relegated down to League Two, I'm still going to be supporting Brighton. That's just how it works. And you're unfortunate in that unfortunate position of you have to just go with it, even though you know, like Palace had no right to be a trophy winner before us. No right. And they know that. And that's why it hurts, you know. It's like you've lost progress.
Yeah, no, I hear it. I do hear it. But then at the same time, don't you feel like, you know, how your recruitment team's set up? You're set up in a way where you can just replace players, bro. Like, you got rid of Caicedo, you bring in a Baleba. You get rid of Basuma, you bring in a Caicedo. Like, don't you trust your recruitment team to be able to spend that money correctly and even have extra money left. Because the way you find players, bro, you go to places where not a lot of people go.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It certainly was true. I think there's definitely a case to look in the last 18 months, and maybe the original catchment of players that come with the Caicedo that everyone goes over. Maybe I'd actually argue that a lot of the good members of staff have actually joined you. I think I give a lot of credit to Sam Jewell a lot. I think he was a good member of staff here. We weren't as gutted to lose Paul Winstanley, for example, as we were to lose Sam Jewell. I think it's actually weirdly an upgrade for us on that respect. But losing him as well to you, it's like we've now gone from Dan Ashworth as well. He went to United and Newcastle. I feel like that period of recruitment was still better probably than it is now. It's not to say it's bad now, but you definitely notice there's a few little things maybe where the data doesn't align with the eye test. I think I'm not trying to be negative here because I'm not like that, but just a few little things you notice that's not quite as good as it was. That's not as.
Who would you say? Who would you say like recently? Who are you referring to? Like you're gonna give a few examples of the players that you haven't been too keen on recently.
Yeah, I mean, if you even look at, I'll use. I'm sorry to dig him out because I'm not digging players out at all. But when you look at Aaron Cashin as a signing, was just so strange, and people could call it an anomaly, possibly. But I would argue the whole thing of Brighton going for young players in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember many apart from you would say Costellas in the middle of nowhere, but he still spent 30 million on him. Like, I mean, the 2 million pickouts, the 1 million pickouts, they're not so regular now. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, we're now looking at, say, Jorginho from Leeds. You're now looking at Yankuba Minte from Newcastle. Don't get me wrong, great signings, but probably not the typical Brighton side. Like Harvey Elliott now, for example, 40 million. These are not typical Brighton links. Not that I'm mad about it. You need to progress, but probably you've missed out on... I don't know. There's a little small bit of it to me that's maybe it's just a random bad vibe I'm getting that I'm thinking, oh God, I see Chelsea winning trophies. But there's just a little thing in me that thinks something's regressed a touch in the last 18 months. And it's hard to put a direct pin on it, but there's certainly a few factors.
Yeah, I mean, before we speak about your manager, because last time when I had you on, you were complaining about Hersler and you felt that he was going to get sacked. But you mentioned about Winstanley. You mentioned about Winstanley that your fan base weren't too like angry when he left, right? And listen, we've got our sporting directors. Personally, for me, I don't trust these guys. I'm very skeptical about them because they're just unpredictable. Some of the decisions that they've made since they've been here. I've given them credit for certain things. But then there's other things that I've criticized them for. And it seems like they don't seem to be learning quickly as I need them to, right? What is it about Winstanley that you didn't really fuck with when he was at Brighton, bro?
I think I look back on when Winstanley came here, and that was 2014. And that was, I remember this, and I was only 13 at the time, but I remember how bad our recruitment was. We had someone called David Burke, who was horrendous. And I think all the fans said he has to be sacked because it was League One. We're talking relegation back down to where we came from. And we were bottom of the championship, horrendous season. We got rid of everybody and we got Winstanley. And to his credit, he was better than him. Like, fair enough. But remember where we were in the divisions at this point. This is bottom of the championship. And even then, the recruitment was hit and miss. The championship era was recruit some experience to get us up and be a bit more pragmatic through Houghton, changing from the Gus Poyet days. Then we come up to the Prem. And the first 2 seasons, we signed terrible players, really, really bad signings. We spent, I think, 160 million on the first window, and realistically, none of them were really Prem standard or going to last, apart from Pascal Gross and Davy Proper.
So that was led by Winstanley. So Winstanley was the one that was leading the recruitment for that.
Yeah, he was technically head of recruitment. Yeah, so you would say that. And then 2019, everything changed. We got Dan Ashworth in. The sort of business structure changed. I believe it's just changed again. To the exact structure at the moment, I'm not quite sure. But from then it changed. And obviously that's what Chelsea probably liked. They saw that and thought, Brighton are now looking at young talents. They've got the biggest recruitment agency in the world. So they thought, let's just get a bunch of these scouts and a bunch of these guys knows what's going on. Ultimately, it's all down to Tony Bloom's data. And I get that. And it goes through these guys. And that's what probably Winstanley had the helping hand of, especially when it was more advanced. And I think that's where Winstanley maybe looked a bit overrated for what he was worth. Whereas Sam Jewell came in as we were just getting promoted to the Premier League. I think it was 2016-17. And that's probably where I'd then look at, he was a young person coming in below him. And I would say he was better at that job potentially than he was. That's an outsider looking in. Obviously, I don't see these guys every day.
Yeah. I mean, listen. It's interesting to hear that. You know, it sounds quite similar to what we've had at Chelsea as well, because we've had some hits and we've had some misses as well. I don't expect the recruitment to be, 100%. Like, you're not going to get a 100% conversion rate. You got to look at it like football. When strikers shoot, they're not always going to score. It's the same thing as your recruitment. You're not always going to score, bro. But at a big club like Chelsea, in order to win trophies and consistently compete, your recruitment needs to be A1, right? So it does give me a little bit of hope that you're saying Paul Jewell seems to be switched on and he knows what he's doing, and he's actually the guy that, great segue, in fact, he's actually the guy that was pushing for João Pedro, because he brought him to Brighton, didn't he?
He signed him here, yeah. And that was the first time we did that, went for a big signing. João Pedro was our record signing at the time, 30 million. It was like, wow, Brighton are spending 30. Like, for me, even, I was like, God, this is weird. We're I've got to take a mick out of in school for being a Brighton fan. We're spending 30 million on someone. I thought, wow. And at that time, you trust it fully, because you thought, if we're going to spend that sort of money, he must be the real deal. And I think he's proved it. 30 goals, 70 games. I think the goals that João Pedro has brought in have been invaluable goals. They've been big moment goals. And he's a bit of a bully. He's the bad guy. I think I described him on the other Chelsea podcast. I said he's the bad guy. You don't want to be on the other side of him. You don't want to be the team that's on the receiving end when it's the 90th minute and you're thinking, who's going to score out of nowhere? And that's what he can do. And that's why I'm thinking he may not be the one that flops.
No, I hear it. I do hear it, bro. I mean, what would you say, João Pedro has brought to your team in terms of, just on the ball, his ability? He's had some big moments. Like, I remember when you lot played Arsenal, he's the one that won the penalty. Remember, a lot of Arsenal fans were crying that it wasn't a penalty. It was, the IQ was smart to hit the ball away from Saliba, right? So Saliba actually went into him and headed him. That was a clear penalty, bro. You know what I mean? Saliba got nowhere near the ball. Saliba got nowhere near the ball, and then he scored
some AFTV meltdowns around that era, I remember, and I thought, I was on the thought. I thought it was a pen. I didn't understand why it was so controversial, to be honest.
Of course. And then he scores away as well. He scores away at the Emirates. I remember when we played you lot, when we just beat you at the Bridge. Was it last season? I think it was. He scored a header as well. Because we was beating you 2-0, I think it was at the time. Then you scored a goal. He was the one that scored. Against United, he scored goals against United. So he has got some big moments, right? But what's his strengths, would you say, first of all?
Yeah, I'll say it of a less technical point of view first, because I think that's not just a small thing to be a big game player, because it goes beyond that. We went to Marseille. He was our first ever European goal scorer as well. Before that, against Athens, we got Marseille result out there, massive courtesy of him. Manchester United last minute this season, courtesy of him. Big goals against City where the back's against the rule, courtesy of him. It goes on and on and on and on. And he has always been the one. It's always him. And I always think that's not a coincidence. You're not just there all the time. You're not always the goal scorer all the time for no reason. That doesn't happen. And I remember the one that was more recent, but it was Fulham at home. We hadn't beaten them in 9 years. And there's like an ongoing joke of Fulham. We'd always say, just write the game off, like we're going to lose. And we were going to probably lose. I think it was a draw. It was going to be a draw. It was going to be another Fulham result at home. And it was 95th minute, wins a penalty and scores it like it's just nothing. And I just remember thinking, like, that's one break in a whole 9-year curse. And just sort of, you'd never really had any doubt, As soon as you saw it's him in the box around that time, you thought the game wasn't over yet. And that's the biggest praise I could give him. I think on a technical basis, he's great. I saw a few Chelsea creators saying they don't like players that aren't just number 9s because they want them to be a number 9 and you want to just see a goal. But I think he's better in the fact he's versatile, because he's not just going to be someone that sticks up front. He's not going to be just someone that sticks out wider in the middle. He is going to be a bit everywhere, but I think that's what makes him what he is. And if you do play him to that strength, I think he is an undeniably top player, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I hear a lot of what you're saying, bro. And listen, for me, ideally this summer, I wanted Chelsea to solely sign specialist players, right? Because I feel like we've got a little bit too many Swiss knives in the team. You've got the likes of Nkuku, you've got the likes of Felix and that. And these guys haven't necessarily worked out. So I've got a little bit of PTSD in regards to that, right? But I've never been against signing versatile players who actually will bring something valuable to the team. And when I'm watching João Pedro, the guy's got unbelievable IQ, bro, right? The fact that he can comfortably play in numerous positions, whether that's drifting off the left, whether that's playing behind the striker, whether that's even playing in the sort of midfield area, the zone in the middle, right?
He
that
shows a lot, actually.
Yeah, he does drop deep quite a lot because he's more of a facilitator than he is a finisher. You know what I mean? That's where people get when they talk about 1 in a 9. I think they're saying they want a finisher. I wouldn't really describe him as a finisher. I'd say he's more of a facilitator, like a Jackson, for example, right? But in terms of his overall game, when I can see a player can comfortably play in numerous positions, I know that your IQ's up there because you understand various roles. You understand various angles on the pitch. Playing in the midfield is different to playing up top and holding up the ball with centre backs on your back. It's different to drifting out wide, bro. You know what I mean? So the fact that he can do it to a high level, bro, that's only going to be a plus, you know? And the fact that we've brought in Gittins with him and we're still looking at Kudus, that's a plus for me, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a plus for me. I don't feel like Gittins and I don't feel like Gittins and Pedro would be enough, in all honesty. But it's a step in the right direction in improving our attack, because a major thing right now that we need to do, Ryan, is improve this attack. Last season, bro, we had the 3rd best defense in the league. We had, for me, our midfield outperformed everyone else. When you look at the chances created, no one created more chances than Palmer and Enzo in the league. When you talk about midfield, I'm sure you probably watched a lot of Caicedo, bro. For me, there was no better midfielder than him last season. Yeah. When you go and get all the underlying metrics, bro, he's up there for everything, offensively and defensively, in a lot of metrics, bro. Right? So midfield is sorted. Defense, yes, it needs improving in terms of getting a new goalkeeper and bringing in a right centre-back for Cole as well to play next to him, right? But ultimately, I'm looking at our attack. We missed so many big chances, bro. Only Liverpool missed more than us. But the difference is they had Salah converting these chances. So when I'm looking at Pedro and I'm looking at the likes of Gittins and that coming into the team, I'm looking at more numbers being added into the team. You know what I mean? Because these guys they bring quality to the attack, bro. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm with you. I think obviously I'd be lying to say I watched every Chelsea game last season, but from when I did, it was quite obvious as to who was carrying the goals, and it was Cole Palmer nearly every single time, wasn't it? Especially at the beginning of the season. And
him and Jackson at the beginning.
And Jackson as well. And I think, it goes without saying you needed a bit more. I think Pedro is that. I think he is a bit more than what you've got, especially. I actually was a fan of Nkunku, weirdly. I think it was really weird to me because obviously I didn't watch him relentlessly, but before, when he first came into Chelsea, I thought he was a good signing. And I remember him sort of against us, he looked really sharp. And I thought, okay, he could be sort of a bit of a difference maker. But just for some reason, something went wrong there. I did like him to begin with. But Pedro is that. He is going to be helpful. He is very lethal in the box. Don't remember too many sort of missed chances from him that come to mind. I haven't checked the stats on that, but his XG doesn't seem like it would be horrendous. He isn't sort of somebody that's too wasteful, but I would say probably it's more about the positions he occupies. So you say he likes to get quite deep. He likes to drift out wide. And sometimes it is a bit annoying where he has drifted out wide and say, you haven't got a presence in the box, and he looks to whip it in. And you think, you're doing that wrong. Sometimes you just think you need to be there because you're the one that would score that. And we particularly missed him. We went on a little period without him, and we definitely missed him. But with all of the praise I could give him, it still does come down to, unfortunately, his mentality. And whilst what he's so good for on the pitch is being that winner, unfortunately, that does clash off the pitch, and it's probably the Jekyll and Hyde of it, or whatever you want to call it. It's your biggest benefit, but it's also your biggest enemy. And I do wonder what happened between him and JP Van Hecke, because I mean, Van Hecke for us was player of the season, fans player and players player.
I like it. I think he's good. I actually rate him.
He's close. Yeah, he's really kicked on. And whatever happened, it doesn't sound great what happened between them. And
was it a full-on scrap? Like, were they actually scrapping?
I believe so. I believe so. That's what's from the rumors. But it doesn't sound great. And from that point onwards, he was excluded. And as soon as he was on the pitch, he got sent off in a very aggressive way. And whether that was just a build-up of frustration, potentially, that he wasn't being played in the position he wanted to be. We've had a few players speak out about the manager at the end of this season, so it wouldn't be too surprising for that. But yeah, it does seem a bit weird. But he also had a problem with De Zerbi, so potentially there is an underlying issue there where if he isn't playing every single week for you, if he is having struggles up to January, you never know. Maybe he won't be the sort of happy João Pedro potentially that you're wanting to see. Maybe
you make a very good point, bro. Because end of the day, Maresca, one thing that I criticized him about over the Christmas period where we fell off was how he wasn't using the bench. You know, you talk about the likes of Nkuku and these guys. They weren't really getting opportunities in the right place. Like Nkuku was playing up top, Felix was barely playing, and you know Felix and Vega, they ended up leaving because they weren't happy, bro. You know, they weren't being used. So if you're bringing in a João Pedro and you've had a say in bringing him in, I now expect you to use this guy, bro. Right? I expect you to use him in the cup competitions. I expect you to bring him off the bench with enough time to play. I expect you to start him in certain games. You've got to keep the morale good in the team. You know, we've got Champions League football now as well. So I've got no doubts that he'll play, but Maresca still needs to use this guy correctly, you know? And for me, ideally, I want to be seeing Pedro on the pitch along with a striker because he helps everyone around him play better. He's just a good player. Certain players are just good players and they help control and dictate the game. And he's one of them, bro. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. And actually, that linked nicely to a game that he had against City towards the end of the season that I quoted, because I remember him just running everywhere. I think if you were to get a heat map of him, he was absolutely everywhere. And that to me sticks out. He didn't score. We didn't win the game, but he was so influential in that game. To be honest, he probably would have come off the pitch as one of the best players on the pitch. And that's one thing that I give Pedro a lot of praise for, is he does run. He works very, very hard. But as well, when he isn't interested, you know, the way I describe it is I'd expect him to score in the Bernabeu. I'd expect him to turn up at Chelsea in a Champions League semi-final and be the winning guy. But then how is he going to do against Sunderland at home when it's a 3 p.m. kickoff? You know, those are the ones that you'd think you just want a little bit more. When you want to be, you can take apart nearly any team. And I remember Fabian Hertzler saying the same thing about him. Weirdly, that Southampton game towards the end of the season versus during the season, it was horrendous against these bottom six teams. I think we had the worst record against them, against bottom six. We played Southampton at the end of the season, just blitzed them 4-0, and Pedro was electric. And you think that's what he can do. But
is that when he scored that little chip? He scored that little chip as well, wasn't it? Was that game?
It was very And it was coming up to a point where we were actually saying around us, saying it to my dad, go games with my dad, saying we just need him to actually care. Like if he really puts it in, he can easily score a hat-trick today. But you just need him to do a bit more.
No, 100%. I mean, when you look at the record of Brazilian players at Chelsea, bro, we've got hits on hits, man. You know, Ramirez, David Luiz, Alex, you know what I'm saying? Oscar as well. I thought
can't believe how Ramirez looks these days. He looks like a completely different guy. It's crazy.
Completely different guy, bro, but he was so good, man. Ramirez is so underrated, bro. And it's funny because a lot of people describe me to be a Ramirez. Like when I'm playing, I used to play midfield growing up, and they used to say all the time that I'm Ramirez. And I used to love that compliment because
I was going to say it's a good compliment. I mean, I just think of the Barcelona game when he did that chip.
Bro, so good, man.
Throwbacks.
So good. That guy used to score. He used to score key goals for us. He used to create for us. Engine, bro. You know what I mean? But let's go through some of these stats here. When it comes to Pedro as well. So if you have a look here in terms of dribbles, bro, you've got Bowen number 1, Cunha number 2, and a João Pedro number 3. So clearly you can see the guy likes to get on the ball and obviously run at people, bro. You know what I'm saying? You've got chance creation ratio as well. He's up there with the likes of Jackson. You've got Ekitike, that Volt Me guy that's potentially going to Bayern Munich as well. And Chelsea fans, if you're looking at it right now, you know Jackson's more of a facilitator than he is a finisher, right? That is what Pedro is as well. He's going to be creating some chances in his team because his passing range is very good, bro. You know, he's good at, you know, them little through balls, you know, the weight of pass. That's what I like about him. His weight of pass is very good. You know what I mean? Very, very good. He's a danger around the 6-yard box, if you want to call it that, bro. You know what I'm saying? And when you go look at here, João Pedro versus Premier League strikers per 90, key passes he's first, offensive duels he's first, through passes completed, again, like I said, the through balls there, he's first, shot assists second, passes completed second, progressive passes second. And when you go talk about the off the ball work as well, bro, right? He's number 1. You know what I mean? You've got him there. You've got Onuachu, I think it is, Delap, Bowen, Marmouche. If you watch all of these players, bro, I don't watch Onuachu, of course, but Delap and that, they all press off the ball, bruv. You know what I'm saying? They all work really hard. You know,
Delap, I remember at the Amex as well as being a serious player. That was right when Ipswich first got promoted. I think we were one of their first away games, and he had this driving run from about his own box, and I was just thinking, who's this guy? You know, obviously you know who he is from the City days, but you're thinking, was he? You know, coming to the Premier League and just running through us like that. He hit the post in that run. It was such a venomous shot, and I thought, my God. And that's just seeing them stats reminded me of that because, I forgot you signed him.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Again,
you know what I mean? And that's
another one that I've got to worry about when we play you guys, you know?
Exactly, bro. Exactly, bro. So you can see there why we've gone to sign this guy, because he's clearly a quality attacker, right? He might not be that finisher, but that's why we've brought in Delap. You know, Jackson's another one that could be getting sold. If we sell him, we need to bring in someone else who is a better finisher than him. You know, would you take a Jackson at Brighton, by the way, just out of interest?
Not for the red cards. I think we've had enough of players just getting sent off and expelled from the squad, to be honest. But I get what you're saying in terms of the player profile, but in terms of replacing João Pedro, we need someone that's going to do what he can do, and that's going to be really difficult. But I think we sort of got João Pedro at home already, and that's Jorginho. I think we did the right thing in getting him over the line to be here for a year, because he has got the potential to be just as good. I do think at the moment Pedro edges him sort of in that ruthlessness probably. But I think Jorginho is a serious player, and again probably one that you'll be looking at not too long away. But I would probably be more happy that we've got Jorginho as opposed to João, just in the sense of that that mental is very different. You know, Jorginho is settled here in a very different way to how Pedro did, and I would be less worried about him than forcing a move or wanting to move or anything like that. He's a seriously top player, but a good guy by the seams of it.
Yeah, okay. And then when it comes to the numbers, last season he scored 10 goals in the Prem. He got 6 assists as well. I know he's your penalty taker. How many penalties did he score last year? Was it 5?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I mean, he's only missed 1, if that helps. I think he took about 25 in his time here. So he was, mate, penalties, he scored. Like, you know that he scored. Because he rebound on he did miss, he scored. So in my eyes, he's got 100% record, because it was against Villa, it's Emi Martinez. So like a save was not that terrible, you know. So mate, if you get him on a penalty spot, that is the one thing. João Pedro, you can already write the name yourself.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we've got Palmer that takes our penalties, but it's good to add a penalty taker when it gets to, you know, cup competitions and whatnot. Obviously we've got Champions League. You never know if we get to a fucking penalty shootout. You've got Palmer there that can take them. You've got fucking Delap that can take them. You've got Pedro that can take them. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of other people in our team that can take. I'll probably look at even Reece James can take them. You know what I'm saying? So that's again adding something different that we might not have in the team. You know, because we're looking at Palmer as the main penalty taker, but there's Pedro there as well. You know, and obviously the season before that he scored 9 goals and then he got 3 assists as well. 22-23. Let me just have a quick look at that season as well, what he got there. And that was at Watford actually. So in the Championship, he scored 11 goals, and then he got four assists there as well. So he's someone that can put up numbers for the team. He can definitely, you know, help and put up more numbers. Again, I think he'll put up numbers. I think he'll probably score. I think he'll probably score at least 5 goals and maybe even probably say at least 5 assists. If he's getting at least 10,
if he plays enough, he'll score. I mean, that's one thing that he will do, because just by the nature of him, he will score goals. You know, that's the good thing about João Pedro. As I say, the only thing that holds him back is that mentality, because as a player, I struggle to find any faults in his game. Really, there's nothing that majorly flags out to me that I'd say this is what can make him flop it. It's just a mental thing. If he can accept that he's not going to be the big man at Chelsea to begin with, and he's not going to be the big fish, because I think that's what he enjoyed here and at Watford. You know, he was, you know, we could always say, oh, it's always João Pedro, it's always João Pedro. But, you know, you've got Cole Palmer. He's the big guy there. You know, you've got Enzo Fernandez. You've got Moises Caicedo. You're walking in, there's taller guys than you have to settle in. And if they are playing ahead of you, you can't just go and get in a strop, because you'll be out the door quicker, you know? So 100%. It's a different kettle of fish, isn't it, when you go to a bigger club? And that's probably the one thing that I question. He
didn't play with Caicedo. He didn't play with Caicedo.
No.
You joined Arsenal,
mate, the team. This is the thing, right? This is where I get this is where I'm angry about Brighton's philosophy. Because imagine that a team full of Brighton players over the years, from back to front, we could have had genuinely. I'm not even exaggerating. One of the best teams in the league by far.
100%. 100%. That's the thing, though, right? When you sick. Bro, when you come to the Prem, there's a pyramid. Unfortunately, man, there's a pyramid. Yeah. When the big boys start coming and they're calling for you, like even now, like Newcastle were trying to buy this guy, and he literally told them, "I don't want to go to you. I want to go to Chelsea. Chelsea only. No one else." You know what I'm saying? But for you, bro, just to round up, are you saying that Pedro is going to be a success at Chelsea, in your opinion?
I think so. Yeah, provided he keeps that head straight, he'll be all right. As a player, he's fantastic.
Yeah, big up, right, man. Big up, man. But listen, good chat, man. Good chat. You know,
very good.
I don't know who else we're gonna come to get from Brighton in
hopefully we can have a chat with you about getting someone back. I mean, at some point it'd be quite nice for this relationship to go two ways, because it feels like it's just constantly taken away. Even just giving us Dewsbury Hall back would be nice. That was just rude. There's no need for that.
We actually took him from the medical room. That was actually so rude.
He was in the training ground waiting to sign the deal, and you were like, "No, come up to." He was gone, and that's that.
That would be a very good signing for you. I still rate him. You know, a lot of my fan base had to cook me Dewsbury Hall. I'm like, bro, this guy at Leicester was cooking, right? Put up numbers for them. He literally got 25 GA. You know, and the only problem I've had with Dewsbury Hall is like he hasn't really been taking many risks on the ball at the beginning, because I felt like he was seeing what people were saying on social media. I was seeing a player that wasn't confident. You know, he was getting the ball and just popping it off, and I'm like, that's not the Dewsbury Hall that I know. The Dewsbury Hall that I know actually gets the ball and tries to run at people, tries to create. Whereas here, he seemed a bit shy. But then he grew into his own, started to contribute more in the Conference League. Obviously, in the Prem and that, he's been coming off the bench in certain games. Like against Liverpool, he got a vital block. He played well when he came on. Same thing against Forest. The other day, he scores when he came on as well against, who was it, Benfica. Yeah. So he's actually contributed in quite a lot of games when I actually break it down. I think people are a little bit too harsh on the guy. We should have never signed him. We didn't really need him, but he's actually contributed to an extent in our season.
That's the trouble, isn't it, about the philosophy of Chelsea? I suppose you've got so much money that there are just going to be players that you just don't need, and even the fans that I know that are Chelsea fans that I actually they say to me like, I don't even get this sometimes, and I think that's quite respectable. When you're away from Twitter, I can actually have a decent conversation with Chelsea fans. I don't actually mind doing Chelsea podcasts. It's just the ones when I check my Twitter mentions afterwards. And I'm seeing the amount of views I'm getting for putting a tweet on that I forgot about. But there we are.
Yeah, man. Nah, listen, Chelsea Twitter is a toxic place. Honestly, there's times when it comes to match day, I put my little tweet out and I'm out of that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Get out. Go and enjoy the game.
But listen, right, love for your time, man. Let them know where they can find you, bro.
Yeah, I'd say don't follow Talk Seagulls. Normally, if I go on a rival fans podcast, I say don't follow my Talk Seagulls account because that'd be weird. Why do you want to see more Brighton content? You know, to focus on your own club sort of thing. But to be honest, you're better off following us because you pretty much do anyway, and you're probably going to see someone that plays for you next couple of years. Keep an eye on Brian Gruder. But before you do that, follow TSR Football because that's really what I'm pushing nowadays on Instagram. Yeah, good stuff.
Cool. No worries, bro. I'll put it in the description. But people, let us know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about João Pedro as well. It hasn't officially been announced by the club as of yet, but Fabrizio has confirmed that it's been signed. He's been signed today. So he's going to join up with the Club World Cup as well, which is good. You know what I'm saying? But love people, man. In a bit. Bless.